Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life.
A Professor Sunreis Productions!
Hello class, Professor Sunreis here. Today's class we're gonna take a look at a replay analysis of Brave Punk. Virtual, my current build of it, as you've seen in the last video, versus Spright. Of course, there are a whole lot of different Spright variants out there, but they all basically play the same. Of course, they have a few applications here and there, but mostly it's the same, so you can take what you learn in this video against all the other Spright variants out there, and with Spright being the best deck of the format, probably, until maybe some crackhead breaks tier elements, or until the new support for tier elements comes out. You will definitely want to know how to play against that deck. Probably, I'm still not 100% there. There are a few misplays in this replay here and there, but that's what these replay analyses are there for. So without further ado, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave some feedback down below, and let's get right into the replay. So here we are in the replay. Yes, we are recording indeed. We are playing against Sky Striker Ace Ray with 1,170 rating. I'm currently at 1,338 rating. You can't see it because my face cam is on. We win the rock, paper, scissors. Let's take a look at the opening hands. We have an emergency teleport, a starter, dupe frog, elf, not elf, Veiler, and smashers. So that's one defensive card, one hand trap, one defensive card, and the smashers. This can definitely be used to break boards. A starter, an extender, and a normal summon, so it's fine. This is of course not the best normal summon, but it definitely works. And we are on GG, Janwu, Kowloon, and Prosperity. Definitely an interesting hand. There are arguments to be made to just activate Prosperity right off the bat and dig for an emergency teleport or an enchantress to bait out one hand trap. But that's not what I'm going for here. I just want to activate the Kowloon, get the GG, because we have so much shit in our hand. We definitely want to draw a few more cards, and therefore I kind of wanted to get rid of the Prosperity and not use it, and in the end we still have a pretty high chance of just seeing another virtual world with it. So in my head it made sense to go for it that way. Definitely could have gone for the Prosperity first though, but like I said, in the deck profile you kind of want to minimize the amount of usage of the Prosperity, just because the draw 2 is still super strong, even though you don't draw hand traps. Just the pure card advantage, especially in a deck like Virtual World with a lot of discards, is super crucial. So we activate GG, send Qinglong, then we use Qinglong, pitching the Janwu. Of course, doesn't really matter what you discard here first, just pitching the Janwu first is always the best option, just because it does need another discard. So if you have two discards, pitching the Janwu first makes it so that the second discard you can use the pitch the second discard with the Janwu, of course. So Lulu and GG turn into a charge warrior. At this point, we cannot activate our Prosperity anymore, but we have full combo, so we are feeling pretty fine with that. We draw another Prosperity, and that's still decent follow-up, so we are not too sad about that. So here we do a quick thing here. We do have the ability to go into a Baron here, not a Baron, into a Beatrice. And thanks to Hardbrain Scythe, we are actually fine with using Chucha to pop our own Beatrice to dodge Imperms, Veilers, stuff like that, because we don't need the Beatrice to stick on the field, because we have Scythe Lock nonetheless. So here is nothing is happening. We do a quick thing. Yeah, we got the line out. By the way, the thing here says keep going. I was kind of confused by that. So we activate Laulo on the Chucha. Sending Neon, of course, this is still super standard. We are thinking about reviving the Neon here. Ultimately, we decide to do it. We go into the Beatrice with it. We thought about playing around Nib, but our hand was kind of scuffed because we only had GG Kowloon. We did not have the ability to play around Nib perfectly. So the Beatrice gets hit by an Veiler. Here we have the option to either let that resolve and just send a snow, but if you take a look at our graveyard is not really that filled, especially because we are lacking a few cards here and there. We didn't resolve the Brave Engine yet, we didn't resolve the what's it called? The P.U.N.K engine, so our graveyard is not really filled, and if we instant by face pitch that, we had not a lot. We would use Janwu to go for Coral Dragon. With these two, then Janwu, the GG back, go into Shanshan. We would end on Shanshan, Snow, Chucha, which is definitely a fine play if we're against Spright, but us not knowing what we're up against definitely made me want to go for the Scythe lock. So here we decide to chain the Janwu, pitch target Lulu, pitch the Scythe, and not chain Chucha, of course, first on the Beatrice, pitch the Scythe. So this resolves. We pitch Scythe, resummon Lulu out of the graveyard, and send Enchantress. And with them putting the Vela on the Beatrice, it also meant there's probably not going to be a nib. We played around an Ash as well, just with activating Lulu, in my opinion, or Kowloon or the GGF. So there's no Ash, no basically no hand trap unless other than an Ogre maybe. An Ogre is not really main decked right now, as Tier Elements is still a very prevalent matchup and it does next to nothing against that deck. So we weren't scared of any other hand trap here, because a Vela and an Imperm probably would have come down onto the Beatrice in response of the Chucha. So here we turn the Nian and the GG into a Coral Dragon, effect Adventure, get the Draco back, and now we go for the Adventure, search Griffin. We do decide to pitch a Prosperity here. In hindsight, it just makes sense. We don't need to go for the Griffin, for the Draco back, because we can still use it and we won't ever use another Prosperity, and we still have one, and we are gonna keep that in our hand, of course. We go for the Baron, Coral Dragon draw. Of course, what would be very good here would be another way to activate the Chucha. So basically a Chucha in the graveyard would be very good for us. We don't have that, sadly, but it is alright. Turn it into a Changying. We don't have a way to trigger the Changying, but it's still a very beefy beat stick we have, and if the Scythe lock gets stopped, they probably have to put in quite a few resources in there, and then for them to out our Changying without banishing, and us having insane amount of follow-up with Chucha on field, GG Lulu in the hand, a Fateful Adventure on the field, which does put immediate pressure with the Draco back, plus a Prosperity, plus a draw for turn. I was feeling very safe with that play. This is definitely a prime example of Changying. It's not really, in my opinion, that necessary to get Changying alive. It's sheer amount of pressure it puts on the field, with it being kind of hard to remove, with it hindering the opponent's plays if they do play an engine which banishes, is just enough in my opinion. So in standby phase here, the opponent is declaring no, we are staying in the draw phase. They're activating a starter. I thought about negating it, but in the end it felt like kind of risky to negate it if they had another one. It definitely felt like a bait here to just activate the starter. In hindsight, with knowing that they are on an emergency teleport as well, it would have given me not even then it wouldn't have given me the protection with the Smashers. So there's no way to play around that, because our opponent is trying to bait the Baron negate with the red, and then use the Smashers to get rid of the Baron, so it cannot resolve its revive effect. So they summon the Gamma, they summon the red. That's still fine. Baron effect, effect red. Banish the send the Gamma, we Baron, they Smashers, get rid of the red, and this is a super fine trade. They use 3 cards to get rid of the Scythe lock, so they only now have 2 cards, which is definitely what we anticipated. We thought at best they have to use 2 cards to get rid of the Scythe lock if they still have like double Imperm or something like that, or Imperm Crows. So we felt very good with that. Now the opponent starts with normal summon Dupe Frog. They still have everything they want, to be fair. They still have blue plus level 2 on the board, so that's not bad. But it's just also not enough, to be honest. So they go for a Jet. Then here they do a quick thing. They still have the Xyz route available to them. But then for them to break a board, it's gonna be kind of tough. Special the Jet. Jet gets startup probably for next turn, yes. And then I think it's only correct to go for for the Zeus route here. You probably cannot, yeah, I remember that correctly. They go for the Zeus route. You cannot really break the board with the standard combo here. Changying in in defense is just super hard to out for Sprights. They just attack here, don't use the effect, of course. They want to get a 2-man Zeus. Zeus effect, then end phase, trigger it. We are super fine here. We have so many outs in our deck for that, and even it's only one thing. We have Qinglong. We should be fine. Duke Frog triggers here. I thought about if it would miss timing, but it does not. So that's some follow-up for the opponent. Drop for turn is a droplet. That's the immediate out, but honestly, Prosperity here would have been fine as well. Just forced out like an emergency teleport. Even a normal summon the Armin would have been more. No, not even. Normal summon the Armin wouldn't have been good. But any form of additional play here is everything which we need. We go for Prosperity for 3. Chain the droplet. Prosperity mills are as followed. Kowloon, Lulu, Lao. Of course, we will take the Kowloon. We still have 1 Chucha, 1 John Woo in the deck. So us getting immediate access to the Chucha plus Lulu GG in hand is game. At this point, we know everything. We know there's no disruption on the opponent's part. We can just cleanly... we could have not used the Prosperity and maybe go for game here. But it just was the safest option because we exactly knew what the opponent had. And that way we will get the most amount of card advantage out of there. I don't know if there was an OTK route here. In theory, we can still OTK. 12k, so now we probably can't OTK. Maybe you don't use the Prosperity here. Just pitch the Draco back. Then you have a Prosperity in hand for the 1 discard. And then you just OTK. I guess that's also around. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. It's not like they can break your board at that point. We still are just going to Scythe lock the opponent just because we can recycle the Baron with the Nian, and with that we can just revive the Scythe. That was my thought process I wanted to do here. And we didn't care about the damage whatsoever because we wanted to go into battle phase quite early with the Shenshen. To then go into then get the Enchantress back into the graveyard, use the Enchantress, get the Ride out of the graveyard. With that, go into a Scythe, into a Baron, go into a Scythe lock, and then we have everything we want, plus a Chucha negate. So there's nothing the opponent can really do here. They admit defeat. So into the game 2. Let's see how it's going. We open Prosperity, GG, Draco Bag, Lily, Enchantress. A pretty good hand. The Draco Bag is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. The opponent is on Swap Frog, Ash, Starter, Impermanence, Ronin. Also a pretty insane hand. 2 hand traps plus Swap Frog plus another frog and a starter is nuts. In draw phase, of course, they activate the blue. Get the Jet. What's your Jet, bro? What's your Jet? Summon Jet. Jet effect will of course search, not of course, it searches Smash in this scenario. They go for gigantic Spright. Of course they do this here because they don't really care if the Spright gets hand trip because they have hard drawn swap and swap frog anyways, so they don't really care about that. Pitch that, go for a Diva, pitch Ronin, summon swap frog, effect swap frog, bounce the Diva. This is definitely a play. If this happens, you know you're kind of screwed because this is so much advantage which they can generate. It's not cool. Normal summon Diva. Special summon Diva out of the deck. Go into an Hulky Fibrex. Effect Hulky Fibrex. Summon Gamma. Let's see what they go here for. They go for an Elf. Effect Elf. Summon Swap. Effect Swap, send the last swap. We know that they're playing Dupe Frog. Effect Rodent Totem, summon that. Go for Toad. And they probably want to use the Hulky Fibrex for a quick synchro route into something. Desert Locust is level 6, I think, so maybe they want to go for like Desert Locust into Crystal Wing even. That's definitely something which could come up. We draw for turn a Dark Ruler, which is definitely a cool card, so now we only have to play through the back row and an Ash. It's still 3 disruptions, so this is nothing to scoff at. Swap Frog effect. Get Dupe Frog, we don't care about that, we just Dark Ruler. And then we activate the Enchantress. We are like 99% sure there's an Ash in there. We just didn't want the Prosperity to completely get run over. It feels super bad. In hindsight, maybe you want to do it. Prosperity for 6 probably would get ashed at this point, so maybe we wanted to use the Enchantress. Yeah, maybe if you go for that, yeah, it's probably the correct thing. We do get the Kowloon, which is all we want to. Lava Golem was also an option here, but not really because we cannot get into our engine that way, and we can still break the board. In hindsight, I don't know. Maybe it would have been better to use Prosperity and then go for the Brave engine. With Brave, you can't really force the smashes out though, which was my which is the problem, because you can 50-50 it maybe, or you can use it with the Griffin, but they still had another set which was a Droplet or an Impermanence in my head. So I think it's actually correct to do it like that and fish for the guaranteed smashes out. But who knows? Who knows? We get the Chucha. The opponent is misplaying hard here by activating the smashes right on there. Not that it really matters because we would have started with the GG and we don't plan on using GG anyways. So it doesn't really matter, but it is what it is. Normal summon GG. We still are able to play here. Effect Lily. So now it's only one Imperm, which is not really that impactful against us. Send Qinglong, send John Woo. We probably won't be able to use the John Woo, but we still just want it in the grave, of course. Qinglong effect, get the Lulu. This is still a very fine game set. Here we can end on Chucha, Zeus, plus a Snow even, because we do have the ability to go into that. Lulu on the GG, Qinglong at Chucha. Go into the Juju. We cannot use the Juju effect. It's just a generic Synchro 6 at this point. Go into the Beatrice. And then go into battle phase here. Then effect Beatrice, send the Snow. In hindsight, we still anticipated this being an impermanence, so I think I just wanted to bait the impermanence. And because we thought the impermanence is gonna be there no matter what, I wanted to get Snow into the graveyard just for having it. We don't really have the material to use a second one, but it's like either I go for a double Zeus or I go for a Zeus and banish and dodge the imperm with a Snow. And it just made more sense. Even if I cannot activate the second Snow now, I can definitely use it later on, and we don't really banish anything too meaningful out of our graveyard. Snow also gets removed, so now Toad triggers, getting back Deep Sea Diva, which of course is just nasty follow-up. And then we set Chucha and pass. And the opponent draws a Judgment, okay. Not too good here. The normal summon Deep Sea Diva. Here's a misplay because I was thinking, okay, I don't run into want to run into a top deck Spright. I thought I could hit them meaningful with the Chucha later, but in hindsight, it's just a super bad play. You just pray they don't hard draw the Spright at this point, and just hit the one Diva here, and then they are not even forced to pass because they still have Ronin Toad in for dupe. So yeah, in hindsight, you just can't win here anymore. I just figured that. So yeah, you can't even activate a second Snow. So this is definitely game. Nothing you can do here. But you probably want, if they don't have the frogs here, you definitely want to hit the Diva. Just because going into Elf just gives way too much value. We hit the Elf here, but it is way too late. It doesn't really do anything anymore. And we can basically just scoop. They can go for just a Zeus route and we lose. So yeah, let's just fast forward to this. I don't think there's a way you can definitely win this or get some meaningful stuff out of that. Yeah, so game 3, we of course decide to go first. Opening hand is Enchantress, Draco back again, Kowloon, Scythe, Lulu. The opponent is on Nib, Swap Frog, Driver. Yeah, that's the second time we draw Draco back. Or did we draw it in game 1 as well? I don't even know. I don't think we draw in game 1. So we get hit with a shifter in the standby phase, which is actually kind of okay in a hand like this. We can still set up pretty good disruption here. We activate the Enchantress, which is, by the way, one of the coolest things with Virtual World. Brave plus Kowloon plus Lulu is still 2 disruptions through D-Shifter, which no deck can speak to do, I think. Maybe Spright, but you know that. Fateful Adventure effect. Sorry for drinking, by the way, but my throat is feeling kinder sore at that point. Fateful Adventure resolves, get the Griffin, banish the Scythe. We won't be using it this. We rather keep the Draco back because we want to be able to break the opponent's board next turn. Because it just makes more sense to break the opponent's board. If I'm in a scenario where my game plan next turn is to Scythe block the opponent, my opponent probably won't be able to play through my board whatsoever anyways, so I probably won't need the Scythe block, or I can just OTK at this point. Activate the Chucha, banish the Kowloon, which is of course placed into our hand, then activate the Lulu, effect send the Neon, it gets banished, and then you can recycle something with the Neon. In hindsight, I thought it was a misplay to not banish the Draco back, because you can banish Draco back and then recycle it, but us only playing 1 ride basically forces us to recycle the ride. If we were playing 2 ride, which is something I kind of want to do, but I'm just super struggling to find the space for it, as I don't really want to increase the deck size anymore, and I don't see any card being cut right now. So yeah, we are kind of forced to banish the ride, to recycle the ride anyways, so we do that, and the Draco bag just stays in our hand. But guys, if you're playing a list with more rides, definitely banish a Draco bag, then recycle it with Neon. It is just a free recycle at that point. So we pass the turn on Griffin Negate plus an Alive Tutor, which is definitely very threatening for the Spright player. They activate a starter. We ultimately decided not to Griffin Negate this, of course, because it just doesn't make any sense. Because they could have a second one in their hand, and we can also just negate the blue, destroy it in the meantime, and if they don't activate the effect, we will just activate the Chooch on it and get rid of the body nonetheless. Here, wait, we decided to let that through? That's just dumb. Why don't I Griffin this? Oh yeah, I think I decided to Chooch this because we wanted to be prepared for a meaningful normal summon. And if they, yes, it makes sense. Okay, so you Griffin negate this and they have a good normal summon like a Diva. You lose to the Jet, which or any other Spright which they could have in hand. There are like so many Spright cards, they definitely can have them. And just putting the Chooch on that basically forces them to go into normal summon. If it's a meaningful normal summon, you Griffin it. If it's a normal summon without an effect, they have to use their Jet, and then you Griffin negate it. At some point, you kind of are forced to play into something. Of course, they could have a hard-drawn red, but I'd rather play into a hard-drawn red than into a hard-drawn Jet or blue or something like that, just because they play more of those, of course. So the game plan is hit that with a Chucha, make them go for a normal summon, and then you can negate the Jet, which we know they have. And this way, I think you probably play into the least amount of multiples they could have. So they activate Jet. We Griffin here. This gets banished. The Swap Frog, of course, doesn't really have any value because they're under D-Shifter, so they cannot really play. They have to pass, getting the Swap Frog back into their hand for the next turn. We draw an Enchantress, which is like a fine draw. It's a level 3 extender. We don't really need anything. It does give good card advantage because it's a card in hand, which we can get into the graveyard, and afterwards we can get another card. So it's probably the best top deck at that point. Fateful Adventure, pitch Draco, re-equip Draco, effect Griffin Rider in hand. This point we have protection from a nib, and we can just freely play. The opponent is deciding to scoop here, of course. At this point, it's just cleanup duty. You kind of have to play through around a little bit here and there, but overall, just getting that super early negate on You can definitely, with one summon, loot the second summon. And then you can do with 4 summons, you could probably pressure lethal, go into battle phase. They have to use the nib, you Griffin. And then you can just stay in main phase, go into a Barone, and do your plays after that, and probably still commit into the OTK. So that's what it is for the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something from it. Spright is definitely a very interesting matchup. Just the way you want to omni-negate them on their normal summon, but you also kind of want to be prepared for just a low impact normal summon, and then just omni-negating one of the sprites is also kind of risky, because what if you normal negate the blue and they have a jet in hand? It's super hard to hand trap them accordingly with omni-negates, but on the other hand, just clean spot removal in the form of Chuchu is super strong against them, so definitely keep that in mind. I hope you guys enjoyed this replay analysis. Professor Sunreis out. Peace. Wait, I forgot to tell you guys you are dismissed, and now Professor Sunreis out. Peace.